Morning, this is Paula from Emotional Support for All. I'd like to talk to you today about painful breakups of any relationships. Maybe it isn't much of a surprise. You kind of felt the relationship was coming to an end anyway. Still painful. Maybe it's totally unexpected, which hits you like a ton of bricks, doesn't it? Lots of reasons. Maybe someone has decided they want to be with somebody else in the relationships. Very painful. All relationships are painful, no matter what the reason, whether you saw it coming or whether you didn't. It's still a shock to your system, isn't it? And I am a bit of a believer on, it is like the death of a loved one. Your everything you know about that relationship is now going to suddenly change. It could be that you live together, so you've got a house to sell, you've got children together, lots and lots of things. Maybe you've brought things together, maybe you own pets together. That's way up there on the list now of conflict due to relationship breakdowns. Yeah, but everything you know in your day-to-day routines are now going to move, aren't they? Again, it might be that you've got to move house, you've got to cope with children's emotions because they're going to now live with two families. There's so much more that is then going to go on in your life now. You will have got very used to your routines, and it's a massive, massive shock for you and for your family. What I would say is take time to mourn that relationship. It doesn't matter if you've been with somebody a couple of weeks or for a long, long time. We hear people that'll say, well, they've only been together a couple of weeks. They can't have loved somebody in that time, but people do. People fall head over heels with people, and the breakup is still painful. We speak to people every day where they've suddenly met somebody, and within weeks they're living together. They've gone away from all their family, all their friends. This person that they've been with is all they know, and now they've got to start a scratch, perhaps in a city that they are not even very familiar with. It might be that somebody has been very financially dependent on this person, and then now what do they do? Where do they turn? They might not even know that they're entitled to any benefits. So again, the mourning process is down to every individual. If you are being a shoulder to cry on for somebody, please don't patronize them by saying, you've only been together a couple of weeks, get over it. That's not what they want to hear. Again, I appreciate people are very, they try and be kind, don't they? And they try and like, come on, this is no good. Because in all honesty, yes, take the time to mourn that relationship, but just think about every day is there for living, and the more you're feeling sad about it will really affect your mental health. It'll take your confidence down, your self-esteem down. And again, I know how painful it is because you then start to think, well, this relationship has broke down. It might be a pattern of things. So, you could sit there and think, well, this happens all the time. So is it a me problem? What's wrong with me? If they've left you for somebody else, we all compare, don't we? We're all human. So it might be they're taller than me, they've got longer hair than me, they're thinner than me, they're this, they're that. And it does you no good wondering. A lot of relationships finish and then you're just ghosted and you don't even know the reason why, and that can send you mad. And try and not dwell on that because it doesn't matter how hard you try, you're probably not going to get an honest answer. There is so many reasons why relationships break down. A few examples for you. So you might have just been together a long time and you've just grew apart. You want different things. As we get older, we do, life changes in different directions, and it might be that somebody else wants something different. And again, you know please try and think, well, if they don't want that anymore, then go off and find it then. And you can, if you're happy with your life, why should you have to change for somebody else? You shouldn't. Just because somebody else doesn't want that life now, then, wish them well, shut the door, and let them go. And yes, that is painful and it's hard, but what's the point in being with somebody if they don't want to be there? You're going to go into a load of more issues there. And, that's not healthy for you either. You don't want to be being out all day and then coming home and you're sat on tender hooks, or nobody's speaking, or you're coming home, you're going into separate rooms. Sweethearts, you may as well be on your own. We do get used to a certain way. And again, it's hard to find that single space. Some people can't be on their own. They don't like being on their own, and that's fine. Just take your time. You know, how many times do we hear of people that will say, well, we've only been split up a week and they're with somebody else? Now, personally, that would not be for me. I do believe that you have to mourn the relationships, what's gone. I think you should reflect on things, find yourself as a person again, concentrate on loving yourself, because there is that saying, isn't there, where, if you can't love yourself, then, how do you expect anybody else to love you? So again, just think about that. Some people will move on within a week, and there is nothing you can do about that. And again, is it a sign of weakness? It's their way of coping. And you know what? Don't worry about what they are doing. Don't drive yourself mad wondering what they're doing. Concentrate on yourself. Be kind to yourself. You know, you could even try new activities maybe to take your mind off things. Try and not dwell on things that you cannot control. So, going over arguments and rows that you had will be no good, because you will drive yourself mad. Your mental health will suffer. If a thought creeps into your head and you think, yeah, that makes sense now, and I didn't think about that at the time, and it really won't do you any good. It won't change anything. It's the breakups happened, and or happening, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you are really struggling, I would say please seek professional help. There are lots of charities online that can support you with your mental health, and GPs, professionals, that can help you with antidepressants if you are feeling a little bit low at that time. Don't just suddenly dismiss that. Don't, if you feel that they will help for the interim period, then, think about that route. Don't look on social media, because that is the worst thing you can do. Family can and friends can be a little bit naughty, because they may think that you want to know what's happening in this new person's life and what they're up to. And just be firm and strong with them. If you don't want to know, then just be like, I don't want to know, please don't tell me anything, I'm taking this time for myself. And wish them well, close the door. But again, allow yourself time to grieve. It's okay if you cry. It's okay if the kids are coming and they're saying, I miss whoever it is. And just take it one day at a time. Be kind to yourself, look after yourself, and you will get better. Time is a healer, and I promise you now, once you've got over it, which you will get over it, you'll learn lessons, and you'll learn things where you're like, I will never do that again. I will never be taken advantage of. I will, you are your own person, and remember that. Just remember the person that you are when they first met you. So, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just unfortunate that sometimes people just outgrow each other. It's the same with, if you're putting all your effort into a relationship and you're not getting pretty a lot back, and you don't understand why, so you're trying even harder. Sometimes people are just not in the same headspace you're at. You could be wanting a long-term relationship, you could be wanting to settle down, and they might not. And you're going to be the one that gets hurt. And it is hard to make that decision where very early on you do stop that relationship, but sometimes it is for the best. And I think, you are allowed to miss them. You are allowed to reflect. We're only human. If you go out and you'd think, oh, they'd like that, or I must tell them about that, or you had check-in calls throughout the day and it's getting used to not having that. But, fill those gaps with something else, change your routines around so you're doing different things. See friends after work if you don't want to go home to an empty house. And it will get better, and then one day when you're feeling okay, you won't think about them. They won't be the first person that you think about when you wake up or the last person you think about when you go to bed. It'll suddenly click and you think, I've not thought about them for weeks. And then your confidence starts coming back and you think, okay, yeah, maybe I'll branch out and I'll look around and there's lots of dating apps on there, but please be careful with them because people aren't always what they appear to be. But yeah, you will know when the time is right. And do you know what? If it isn't, there's nothing wrong with being on your own. Take some time out. Um, be kind to yourself. I hope this has helped. I know how painful relationships are. Don't let anybody tell you that they're not because they are, and we're only human. And take each day as it comes and yeah, seek help if you need it. Thank you for listening. If you like what you've seen today, please like and subscribe my page. Take care of yourself. Lots of love.